Welcome to the 8 o'clock news.
What are we talking about today?
We're talking about environmental toxins. If you think about it, every day, you put on lotions, you take clothes, you drink water, you store food in plastic food storage containers, not knowing that you expose yourself to a ton of environmental toxins. So in this episode, we're going to talk about our journey with environmental toxins, a painful journey, expensive journey in many cases, on what we've done to reduce our exposure. Because one thing we should probably point out from the get-go, you cannot remove or avoid all environmental toxins, right? You would have to live out in the woods in a mud hut without exposure to anything. You probably don't want to do this. So you can only reduce your exposure, right? And that depends on, or to what extent you want to do this, depends on your state of health, maybe also your budget and your desire, right? Because it's a pain in the ass at times.
It can be difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we'll talk about all of this. We're going to break it down into 2 episodes. We're going to talk about 4 categories of environmental toxins in episode number 1. That is drinking water, food storage and utensils, clothing and bedding, and household cleaners and appliances. And then in the second episode, we'll talk about personal care products, pharmaceuticals and hormones, and EMF mitigation. Not necessarily an environmental toxin, but toxic at the end of the day anyway. So maybe before we get started, let's ask a favor. Go down to the comments and let us know, what is your health goal you're chasing right now? Improve your health, lose weight, whatever it might be, more energy, better sleep, cleaner skin. Let us know in the comments. We are super interested because maybe we can then tie some of that back to environmental toxins in the next episode. So let's start with drinking water. Do you like water?
Yes.
We drink a lot of water, and I think we have to interrupt this episode for an important message from your feet. They've had enough of being crammed into traditional shoes. Regular shoes can wreck your back, joints, and overall foot health by squeezing your toes and disconnecting you from the ground. That's why I switched to Peluva minimalist shoes, and the difference has been incredible. These shoes give me a perfect, natural connection to the ground whether I'm walking, sprinting, or lifting heavy. My back pain disappeared, my athletic performance has improved dramatically, and they are comfortable enough to wear all day. Plus, my toes are finally pointing in the direction they're supposed to. Check them out at peluva.com and use code KUMMER for 15% off. That's peluva.com. And now back to the episode. The water supply in the United States is just, it's bad. Everywhere you go, you find either bottled water in plastic, which is bad, or you find tap water, which is also bad because it is a ton of disinfectant byproducts from the chlorine that goes in, from maybe the fluoride that goes in, that are all at the end of the day toxic to varying degrees. There are microplastic and endocrine disruptors, from the plastic that can leach in. There are the birth hormone byproducts that end up in the sewer that can recycle back into the drinking water, and the water authorities don't really check for that. So you get birth control pill if you want to or not, if you drink unfiltered tap water. And so let's talk about some of the things that we've done that are in many cases expensive, and then some of the things that you can do. Maybe let's start with what we do with the kids when they are out and about and just have a bottle of water.
Well, with the kids, when sports, they have their their water bottle that has like a filter in it, so they can always refill and drink water.
What brand is that? That's clearly filtered. And Life Straw. Those
Yes.
two we have, right?
Yes.
And which one do you like better?
Oh my God, one is very expensive to get the
replacement
The
filters, right?
replacements
That's the
for-
clearly filtered. The
but it's
filters are-
lighter.
It's lighter.
Live Straw is heavier, and it has parts that need to be really dry.
Every time you use it, you have to take it out and dry it, but the filters are fairly inexpensive. And I think they also filter better because one is basically just a charcoal filter, right? The clearly filtered. And the Life Straw has like a membrane, and the
has a better
charcoal,
system, yeah.
it filters more.
And when I'm like out and about, like you said, right now that is very hot, I just bring a big stainless steel container,
gallon.
Yeah, like a gallon, and just have it there with me because I know that I might not find filtered water
Yeah.
in malls, or outside in parks or etc. So I just have a big jug of water
Right.
in the trunk.
And those are fairly inexpensive. I think at least if you use them like for outside, in the house, you can just get a pitcher with a charcoal filter. I mean, it doesn't filter out everything, but most of what is in tap water that you want to get out, like the chlorine, and fluoride and some of that stuff you don't want, that is fairly easy to filter out. There are also, I've seen gravity fed ones, like it's a big stainless steel container you have on the countertop, right? You fill it up, it trickles through, and then you just get your water out that's clear and everything. I think those are good and inexpensive options.
Yeah, and I think that's a inexpensive option. If you don't want to put like a all house, filtration system, then you can go with that.
And also if you're a renter and you cannot put in a whole house system, right? You can. The countertop version and Radiant Life, that's the brand that we use for our under the sink RO, as well as for the whole house filtration system. They also have that countertop stainless steel option. I think that's a great choice if you're renting. For us, I would not move anywhere anymore without a whole house filtration system, right? Because you get clean water out of every single
What is going to happen when we move to Costa Rica?
Huh?
Bring it in the container?
We'll bring it. We would bring it if we were to move to Costa Rica. All right, so the problem with RO water is reverse osmosis, which is a type of water that really strips out, or the reverse osmosis mechanism strips out everything from the water, impurities, but also minerals, everything. I mean, you basically end up with almost distilled water, which is not good for you to drink because it's, the body is used to drinking water that has minerals, even in trace amounts, but at least something. And if you drink a lot of RO water, then you risk that the body is leaching those minerals from either the rest of the body or from the food that you eat. So it's not ideal to drink water that's stripped clean. You want to drink water that mimics water that humans have been drinking for a very long time, natural spring water. And so now there are RO systems like ours that remineralize the water, but it's not the same as you get the high quality mineral water. And so that's why we actually stopped drinking, for the most part, our RO water, and we just drink the water that's been filtered with the whole house filtration system, which doesn't remove as much, but it's also a good thing because you still get some of the minerals. So that's one thing. And I think the other thing we want to do in this episode is to read out some of the questions we've gotten on social media when we posted a short clip about all of the things that we've changed. So the water bottle, again, which is the one we use, is the Life Straw and Clearly Filtered. Those are the two brands we use. They're both good, have the pros and cons. And then another question was, do you have an ionizer that charges your water? No, we do not. I have a hydrogen or a bottle that makes hydrogen water. I've been experimenting with that, but honestly haven't really felt much of a difference. So I stopped doing it. For the most part, we just drink regular water that's been filtered. And that's also important. No. And it's also important, not only for drinking, but also for showering, right? So you don't want to have the chlorine, all of that nasty stuff in your skin, because part of it gets absorbed, part of it you inhale, especially with hot showers, and it's just not good, and then you cannot drink it either.
Well, do you want me to talk about chlorine with the kids?
Yeah, maybe let's bring that up. What do you do in the pool? Because the pool is, it's...
So this year I discovered that apparently vitamin C, and it has to be a certain type that I cannot pronounce the name, but actually we had it at home because we take vitamin C like in a powder, in part of our, it's part of our supplementation. And so I started reading about it, like how can I do this summer with the kids' exposure to chlorine in the pool?
Yeah, they like to swim. They like to go to the public pool.
They love swimming. They like going to the pool. So I did a little bit of research, and apparently vitamin C with water mixed. And what you have to do is like shower before going into the pool. Bring that in a spray bottle, and then you just spray a little, all over, not a little, all over your body. And that neutralizes the chlorine. And then you can just jump into the water when you get out.
Absorption of it, right?
Yeah. And when you get out, you do the same. You go shower, and then you just put that on.
Yeah. That's one of the mitigation techniques that if you don't want to avoid the chlorine pool
the
altogether.
kids are not happy about it because it's another step, and another thing to do. But I think it's worth it because they seriously would be exposed to a lot of chlorine.
Number 2 is food, meaning produce and pantry staples. And the problem with those is, they're loaded with pesticides. Not only the pesticides that humans put on, but also obviously plant pesticides that the plants produce to protect, their most vital parts. We're not going to talk about that. We had another episode on that, but let's talk about some of the stuff that we put on as humans, from herbicides, like glyphosate and pesticides, from the produce that you buy in the store if you eat plants. What do we do?
Well, we buy organic.
Right.
In
which
season.
Is more expensive in most cases, right?
Yeah, but I think that's one that you should invest.
Yes. I mean, I would argue that, if budget is a major concern, limit the amount. My opinion is that plants, should not make up the bulk of the food that you eat anyway, So if you reduce your intake in plant foods, which is from a health perspective a good thing, then limit it to maybe the plants that are the least sprayed from the get-go, right? They're like the dirty dozens and the whatever cleaner ones.
Yeah. What I meant with that is that you should buy organic. No, I mean.
Yes, but what
if you follow us, or if you follow, or if you, like whatever, you should buy organic. That should be one of.
Yeah, but even if you don't, how do you? What do you? I mean, we do the same thing whether or not we buy organic or have it from our garden or buy something that's not organic. You process them the same way when it gets home.
Yeah, we wash them. We wash them with vinegar and baking soda.
Baking soda and vinegar.
For 5 minutes.
Relatively. So you put them into water, you add a splash, and that removes a lot of that stuff. I just fill up
the sink and I just put water, a splash of vinegar and baking soda. Let them soak there for 5 minutes and take them out, dry them. And I just do that right after coming from the grocery store.
Right.
Everything, or, from the patio.
Yeah. And obviously, if there are certain things that you really eat a lot, and that happen to be stuff that's also expensive, consider growing it yourself. I mean, we still wash the stuff that we get from the outside, not because we spray, but if there are slugs or whatever on there, to get that stuff off, or anything that might be in the air.
I mean, I grew up, my grandparents or even my mom would tell me, do not eat, the producer, like strawberries or whatever, that
that's the slime.
The slugs, the slime from the slugs.
Yeah.
If they were nearby or touch the fruit, you want to wash it.
One question from someone on social media was, how do you remove oil-based pesticides from produce?
If they mean the clear coat that, they put on apples, and then, here I can call out Whole Foods is one of them. So we stopped buying at Whole Foods pretty much, and we now do Sprouts because apparently they don't. Costco, some items, they would, have that code. I mean, I don't know if I remove it completely, but I do the same.
I mean, you need some sort of veggie soap or whatever to get.
I don't know how I can detect that.
Yeah, avoidance is often better, than trying to fix stuff. Another comment was, throw out the plastic spatulas. I saw a black one. We don't have any plastic spatulas in our home, rest assured. If there is anything that looks like plastic, it's probably silicone, which one could argue, well, it's not as good as stainless steel. But the whole idea here is to do better, right?
Well, but the silicone, what they say is that when it's in high temperatures, for example, I stopped doing that, in the last year or two. I don't bake with
silicone.
Maybe the spatula that they saw is when I mix, things, or the kids mix things, like
not with heat though. If
not
we
with
have,
heat, exactly.
If it's exposed to heat, we use the stainless steel or wood or something, So, but again, no plastic. We don't have any plastic spatulas in our home anymore. Next, food storage, because very much related to the food.
We've talked about this in another episode.
Have we? I don't remember, but I know that it's been definitely a big thing to get rid of plastic food storage containers because they are everywhere. We have the Tupperware we had, Ziploc, freezer bags, and anything in between. Everything used to be plastic, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's not anymore. I think they are. And here is the thing with plastic. I mean, plastic leaches endocrine disrupting chemicals into the food, especially if it's acidic or salty food, and if there is heat involved. So again, there is a difference between using a plastic freezer bag and using a plastic, to heat something up in a microwave, which is like the worst thing you can do, or to store hot food,
Well, what I do is I freeze my sourdough first, like in layers, and then I put them in a Ziploc bag, but it's not being...
It's already cold at this point, and it goes in the freezer.
I cover it with something like, so it might touch, but it might not, like, it's just, if I don't have more of my silicone ones, that's what I would do.
Yeah. But the point is, that was a major investment for us to switch everything over to glass, to stainless steel, and in some cases, like the freezer bags are made out of silicone, and
I think it's not very expensive to get glass. I mean, yes, of course, it's going to be cheaper,
comparatively
plastic,
speaking, yeah.
But it's not a bad investment. I mean, if you still have little ones, and they can break it when they grab it or whatever. I mean, it can happen to us. I've broken, two or three. Yeah. But it's still, I think, is a really good option. And now Amazon carries really nice containers, food containers that are silicone around it. And you can, like, just the seal part. Everything else is glass, the lid and, the container. And that's a little bit of a competitor of Tupperware that has the same. No, is it Tupperware? Yes. No. Pyrex.
Pyrex.
I bought some I think in Costco, and then I just I had two to compare, but I think it's a really good investment. And another thing that I do from all the jars, even I exchange with my friends, just jars, from marmalade jams or
pickles or whatever,
or anything that you buy in the store and you have, don't throw it away, reuse them. I have a lot of dried food. I don't have a lot, but it's just a good, our mint that I dry from the garden, they go into
those repurposed jars. Also, one thing we stopped using is aluminum foil, because that's also leaches, aluminum, especially into hot and acidic foods. And so we use butcher paper. Sometimes there is, it makes sense to use aluminum, but it's done on top of the butcher paper. So the butcher paper basically separates the food from the aluminum.
If I want to keep something warm, I would put the butcher paper and then the aluminum, so the kids can bring something to somewhere, that is warm.
But that's usually like with those things, as you said, it's an investment. It's a one-time thing, and they last forever unless you break the glass. But with stainless steel in particular, like the lunch boxes we have, and everything that we've upgraded, little even little mugs for the kids that they used to use, all of that can really last for a very long time. And it's significantly safer. Anything that comes in contact with food, I would highly recommend, you take a good look at. And don't believe in, there are a couple of brands that say, oh, it's BPA free. Well, just because it's plastic and doesn't have BPA, bisphenol A, it has another bisphenol. There's bisphenol S, that's nobody talks about yet. And so they just, replace BPA with BPS and call it BPA free, and you think it's safe. It is not. There are very few types of plastic, like maybe an ABS plastic that is sometimes, the water container of a coffee maker or so, that has not been shown to have endocrine disrupting or leaching properties, but most everything else is not good for you and you want to avoid.
I felt like you were speaking Chinese to me.
Well, in those,
if you ask me what is BPA, I cannot say it, but I know that it's bad. It's good. I don't know.
It's one of those. It's one of those many chemicals that mimic the sex hormone estrogen in the body. So when it gets into the food or the water,
to be BPA free.
You want it to be plastic free, because if it's not BPA, it's BPS, or it's another type of plastic.
You're still speaking Chinese to me.
Well, those are different types of endocrine disruptors that are used.
Types of,
that are used in plastic or for plastic, right? And so you want to avoid all of them, because, just because it's free of one doesn't mean it's also free of every other one, that we might not even have heard about. From a, social media perspective, what we received is a comment that says, bamboo is highly chemically processed and not as toxic as they claim.
Oh, because of bamboo
Yeah, I
cutting
think we
boards?
have some bamboo like
Cutting
spoons
boards.
or whatever, or cutting boards, and like it depends on the type of the bamboo. It's correct that there are ways, and I think that's more applicable maybe to bamboo clothing and stuff. That when you make it soft, it gets processed in a way that is then potentially not so non-toxic anymore. But again, if you buy organic bamboo or one that is appropriately processed, you just have to ask and know your stuff as always. Then bamboo is still a better option than many of the alternatives.
And if you think that's, toxic, then switch to glass or stainless steel.
Yeah.
I have a friend that has a really cool stainless steel cutting board in her
Yeah.
kitchen island.
Yeah.
And I want to switch to that, but
Yeah.
because it would be great for marinating the steaks that are going to go into the grill, or
Right.
I don't know how I'm going to feel about chopping on that one, but
Yeah.
there's options.
Yeah. One more thing actually before we move on is pans and pots, because that's where it can get expensive, right?
That
in
is
some
very,
cases.
that's kind of like once
But
every
that's a
2 years.
generational kind of thing, almost like the stainless cast iron skillets that we purchased. I mean, those, unless someone throws them away, will stay in the family for a very long time. They don't, deteriorate. They're good. They're awesome. We also have some stainless steel, and one person actually asked, can you recommend something that's lighter? Because cast iron is heavy, of course, and if you're already elderly, maybe with arthritis or not the muscle strength anymore that you used to have, holding that pan can be a problem. I mean, the ones we have actually a little bit
They're
of
heavy.
a grip on the other side, so you can grip them from both sides, which makes it easier.
They're heavy, yeah.
Stainless steel is a little lighter, at least the ones that we have, but still nothing like those, floppy plastic-like non-stick coating kind of crap. They're all toxic, so I would highly recommend you avoid them. Anything that's non-stick, unless it's, again, cast iron, it's naturally non-stick if you season it properly, but everything else is not so bueno. All right, clothing and bedding. Fairly simple, natural fibers, generally speaking.
Linen, cotton,
merino wool, organic bamboo, if that's your thing. Those are the things that we use, because most clothing nowadays is made out of plastic, polyester, or some other type of plastic. And then again, is not great, because that can leach into your skin, and then you end up with stuff in your body that you absolutely don't need. So natural fibers is fairly easy. Cotton, I mean, organic cotton, obviously more expensive than conventional cotton, as always, but still, relatively speaking, getting a cotton shirt is, doesn't cost a whole lot of money. Even some of the merino wool stuff that we've gotten now, and we've again transitioned slowly.
I think merino and linen are the most expensive, or a bamboo is mid price range. It's like in the mid.
Yeah, cotton is probably the least expensive.
Cotton is the least, but if you wanna do it right, it should be organic. And I forgot the name of the OX Flex or something like that is the.
And there's like a certification that they have. Yeah.
If you can. If not, I've heard also a lot of people saying thrifting. Like go and get clothing that is being washed for a long time.
Right.
And
so most of the stuff is already
most
out.
of the stuff are out. Same for furniture.
Same
I mean,
for
we're not
furniture.
there, but furniture is the same. It's being off-gassed, by living in somebody else's house. And then if you just, buy it. I mean, there's companies that are non-toxic, but if you want to save some money, thrifting.
Yeah, but I would say if you have to choose between conventional cotton and polyester, go with conventional cotton. It's definitely better. And again, you want to be better. You cannot, don't aim to be perfect unless you have the funds and the desire. Just be better, and cutting out plastic from your clothing is definitely a step in the right direction. For anything that's related to working out and sweating a lot, cotton is just not ideal, because it soaks it up and it doesn't, it's not bueno for working out, for hiking, for those kind of things. I would highly recommend merino wool. We invested in a bunch of those, like underwear, like workout clothes, etc. I mean, if you get the right brand, like we use Woolly, and what are some of the brands that you
I
have?
only use Woolly and leggings and biker shorts from Made the Label.
Yeah, and Riker is the one, I think,
Riker,
my
shorts.
workout. And they've been, holding up incredibly well. And so I think that's worthwhile de-investment. Again, do it slowly. You don't have to replace everything in one shot unless you have unlimited funds. Just
and
do
take
it.
advantage of the sales.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah. All right, household cleaners and appliances, because that's also a major source of endocrine disrupting chemicals. And yeah, I mean, we talked about what endocrine disrupting chemicals are, but we have another episode where I talk specifically about endocrine disruptors, xenoestrogens as they're called. So check that out if you want to really get into the details and learn more. But household cleaners, anything that you use to clean stuff is typically toxic. That is not ideal. And the good news is there are fairly inexpensive ways to make a swap, like Castile soap. I wash everything, hair and everything in between with Castile soap. It's inexpensive and it gets the job done. You use a couple of fancier products. We talk about that later on the personal care. But for just cleaning and washing, apple cider vinegar.
No, just
and
vinegar,
baking
white
soda.
vinegar, organic white vinegar, and baking soda.
Yeah, those two, fairly easy. For washing and for laundry in particular, we recently got an ozone laundry unit that infuses ozone into the cold water supply, because ozone is a great disinfectant, and so it cleans the clothing. It makes them sanitary at the end of the day. It's not great at removing like stains, like fat stains or whatever, but for just cleaning the clothes and making them sanitary, that ozone unit is a one-time payment, and it's there, and and you can use significantly less or no laundry detergent at all, depending on how soiled the clothes are. And so we've been using that. We also have a bipolar ionization device that is hooked up to a central AC. Now, if you're a renter and you don't have control or access to your AC unit, there are standalone units that do the same thing. But in our case, we have it centrally installed, and that disperses charged particles basically throughout the entire home whenever the AC or the fan is running, and that kills bacteria and pathogens on contact. It causes fine particles to clump together and then fall out of the air, which means you're probably going to see a little bit more dust. But on the bright side, you don't inhale that stuff, and it's not
why I'm finding this out now.
I never told you.
That's why the house is so dusty.
But on the bright side, again, it's from HypoAir. It's a bipolar ionization technology, and it doesn't kill everything. So there are like mycotoxins that it doesn't attack, but it attacks at least, or it removes mold, spores, and fragments from the air, so they fall down and can then be vacuumed up or filtered out by the regular filter of your AC unit. So that's one piece of the puzzle to keep the air clean. We have also air purifiers from Jasper and from HypoAir that help us, get some of the dust out, get some of the VOCs and whatever when we cook out. And one thing that's a little bit sticky for you, I remember, is cleaning solutions, like natural cleaning solutions, right?
I'm not a fan.
Why?
Because when I've done it, like cleaning with vinegar and water, for the windows, I just don't feel like it does the job. I still see streaks and it takes forever. I remember doing it with Windex. Easy peasy, right? Yeah. With natural, it's been a struggle. So I know that there is brands out there that are non-toxic. I haven't tried them because for me it's like I'm in between. I want to try some products, but at the same time I want to do natural. So it's like a balance of both.
Right.
But I haven't found one for the windows. I haven't found anything that works. That is natural.
Yeah, but at least the one we use predominantly is the one from
Clean.
the Total Clean from HypoAir, and it's a great disinfectant. It's you could spray it in your face, and it's really non-toxic. That's the good news. It doesn't clean stain-wise as well as maybe some of the toxic cleaners out there.
But for dusting and for the kitchen countertops, it's really
working
good.
Really well.
To clean, the kitchen cabinets. It's been really good.
Yeah.
And the floor.
And the floor we also clean with it.
Yep.
2 questions from social media. Where did you get your HVAC ionizer? It's HypoAir. We have a review on that on the blog, so I can link that. And what's the ozone for the laundry? Or what does it do? Well, it disinfects. I already mentioned from Simply O3. We also have a video on that if you want to learn more. And with that was episode number 1. I know we talked a lot about different things. We have a couple of more categories we want to tackle in the next episode, so stay tuned. When we talk about personal care products, hormone like feminine health, and EMF mitigation. That's another sticky topic that there's a lot of discussion about, so we'll tackle that in the next episode. Stay tuned, and hopefully we'll see you next week.